Good evening and welcome. This is the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Peter. It is Monday, June 14th, 2021. It is 7 o'clock p.m. We will call the meeting to order. Would all please join in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda. Are there any changes, corrections to the agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Ed'll make a motion to approve.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Ed 1, Carrie 2, all in favor of the agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next up, we have the minutes from our May 24th, 2021 meeting. Those minutes appear on pages 4 through 7. Are there any changes, corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Emily will so move.
DeVos will second.
Emily 1 and Brad 2, all in favor of the minutes as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, we will address visitors. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any agenda item? I see we have a few visitors tonight. No? All right. Is there, did you guys, I saw your hand move. Did you guys want to address the council on an agenda item?
Hi, do I come up? Or
Not yet, but when we get to that agenda item, what is the item?
Smolder, the tobacco,
Oh, okay.
the cigar lounge?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Also, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the council on any matter whatsoever? Seeing no one, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins in detail on page 8 and concludes with the resolution on pages 28 and 29 and includes the following budgeted purchases in excess of $10,000. To Gage Brothers Caulking for caulking at the library for $14,481. We have requests, these are all for the same dates from July 1, 2021 to 6/30/2022 for a 3-2 off-sale beer license to Speedway, an off-sale liquor license to Patrick's and to the Flame, an on-sale liquor license to the Legion, American Legion, Patrick's and the Flame, a Sunday on-sale to the American Legion, Patrick's, and also the Flame. We have a temporary on-sale liquor and a temporary soft drink license, both to the Chamber for the 4th of July, 2021. We have a temporary on-sale liquor and a temporary gambling license to Nicollet County Pheasants Forever for July 24th, 2021. We have the following employee appointments. To Matt Grucko for Chief of Police for $108,500 per year. To Joni Myers for part-time circulation clerk for $11.93 per hour. Plus the regular schedule of disbursements for May 20th, 2021 through June 9th, 2021. Are there any questions or comments concerning the consent agenda? Carrie.
I just had a comment on the police chief process for recruiting and hiring. I really appreciate how engaged the public was, and we had so many community stakeholders involved, and just wanted to thank Todd and Barbara again for everything that they did with that process and all the candidates. So I felt really good about the entire process from start to finish and how much engagement we had along the way and in the ways that we made that process accessible for the community too. So thank you.
Anyone else? Todd, I don't see Joey with us tonight, but Gage Brothers Caulking, or Pete maybe knows too. Where are they from?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can get that answer for you. They have worked for us in the past
Right.
on these buildings.
Usually in the memo it'll
Yeah,
put in there, but I
not
didn't
include that this
And I was
time.
going to call you and ask you that to check it beforehand.
We'll get that out to you all.
Yeah, not a big deal. I was just kind of curious. And with the police chief, what now becomes his start date? Because we have some checking to do yet, right?
Yeah, so he's scheduled for a psych and a physical, which is standard process for you. And so once that's completed and I receive the report back, a date will be set. So technically, Mr. Mayor, the date has not been set, but I
Okay.
would think sometime in the first week of July, all of that will be completed. When that happens, I'll make sure to send a memo out to the council. Because it is a chief law enforcement officer position, there's a little bit more technicality to this with BCA, et cetera. So there's a exact start time that goes into this as well,
Right.
for some of the protocol that's in place.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? I said the resolution appears on pages 28 and 29. Is there a motion for approval?
Ed'll make a motion to approve.
Noel will second.
Ed 1, Shannon 2. Any more questions now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. Next up, we have unfinished business, which we have one item, the building automation system upgrade at the Broadway Generation Plant. Mr. Moulton.
Mayor Zeman and City Council, we're here tonight to ask you to authorize or to accept the improvements from NAC Building, or NAC Mechanical and Electrical Services. As you're aware, Ziegler and NAC are the two contractors that you guys authorized to do work up at the Broadway Generation Facility. We have a contract obligation with SIMPA to have those generators ready to go at a moment's notice. And NAC supplied a lot of the controllers, meaning they supplied the mechanical devices and software that control the airflow, the fuel flow, and integrate with the control panels that we have up at the facility. Their project totaled about $60,390. They have met all of the qualifications and all of the installations for what we had going there. This is basically retaining the final payment for those services, and I'm available for questions. If everything goes as planned, you would approve the resolution on page 31.
Okay, questions for Pete? Brad?
So all of the issues that you'd been having from a compatibility perspective between the various vendors have been resolved now?
They're correct.
And I just want to say, you guys have done a great job basically holding the vendors' feet to the fire to make sure everything was resolved. I know you had your 3 hours and 21-minute shutdown that you're
Right, a
running
little
through.
software issue.
Yep. So I just thought you guys did a great job as working through this and waiting until everything was all lined up.
Right,
So.
everything that the contractors were supposed to supply has been completed. So we've always got a few issues with the climate up there to resolve, but everything is going well.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Excuse me, anyone else? The resolution accepting the building automation system upgrades at the Broadway Generation Plant and authorizing final payment appears on page 31. Is there a motion for approval?
Carrie Johnson so moves.
DeVos will second.
Carrie 1, Brad 2. Any questions now? Comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. We'll now move to new business. The first thing we have tonight is the 2021 Clark Street and Utility Improvement Project bid award. Pete?
Mayor Zeman and City Council, as you will see from the information supplied here, we did have 6 qualified contractors submit bids for this project. The engineer's estimate was $539,752, and we did have 2 bids that were underneath the engineer's estimate. Raw Construction LLC out of Fairbolt was the low bidder. Our city engineer has done some background work with them and has found them to be a suitable contractor for this project. As you're aware, we are going to run sanitary sewer from the standard subdivision over to County Road 20, which is Nicollet Avenue. And from Nicollet Avenue, proceeding west about 500 feet, we'll be putting in water, sewer, storm sewer, and street surface with this under one contract. I'm asking that you approve the resolution on page 35 and 36, and I'm available for questions.
Questions for Mr. Moulton? Carrie?
So I understand it's standard procedure to check references if it's not a contractor we work with.
Correct.
What does that reference check process look like, and how many, and does the contractor supply the references, or can we find out by some other
Yeah,
means?
We do it a little bit of both ways.
Okay.
So we know quite a few people in the industry, so we check both formal and informal references. And what we find most of the time is the contractors know what level they can bid to and how they should proceed based on the staffing that they have and the equipment that they have. Our engineer did a lot of the formal interview process. I did the informal side so that we weren't talking to the same people, and both of us came up with the same answer, is that they're capable of completing this work.
So about how many references?
I checked 3.
3. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Mr. Domrus, I don't know if you need to come up for this question, but if you do, that'd be fine. When you did this estimate, when did you prepare this estimate? What date?
I'm trying to think, it's probably,
Here's my bottom line. The last year and a half, year and a half for sure, 2 years, we've been hearing about all these costs going up. And I'm just wondering if you prepared this estimate, back a ways, if you had to make some adjustments in your estimate, if that's how you operated it?
yeah, I mean, we bid that first segment of the project last October, August, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we saw what the numbers were then, and then now with prices going up, we knew prices were going up for materials. So we adjusted those numbers to reflect what we thought material costs would be and construction costs would be.
Okay.
And then so the cost estimate for this next segment, which included what we did last year, and then this additional 500 feet to the west, included those new numbers.
Do you have an apples to apples comparison of a section of it or whatever, on how much you had to raise your estimates at? You said you added, we added this, but, the old part or whatever?
Well, for example, like
Maybe you could come up, Jeff, if people off camera don't want to, or can hear you.
good questions. For example, 12-inch sanitary sewer, there's about 2,000 feet of that in there. That's one of the primary construction aspects.
Mhm.
That we estimated, I think back in fall of last year, we estimated somewhere in the $65 a foot range.
Okay.
And now this year, I think we bumped it up maybe to $70, this spring, bumped it up to about $70 per linear foot. So, I mean, some numbers went up a little bit, some numbers generally didn't go up at all, and very few numbers went down, if any, so.
Well, I always like your estimates, especially when they come in, 2 above and 4 below or whatever this one is, something in there. But I was just wondering how much you had to adjust for that to get to that, as probably the people that bid them did also, or the contractors. But I was just kind of curious how that,
Yeah, when
these inflation and some of these costs have affected your bidding process.
when we post the bids for bidding, we'll also post the estimate, so contractors know ahead of time about what we're estimating the construction costs will be. So they'll have that before they bid,
Right.
just to see where things are at. But
Okay.
yeah, we do have to review every single one, and just based on the climate and what's out there, what we're estimating the construction cost. will
Well,
cost.
like I say, I'm just more concerned at how the process works, but how much things have kind of changed here in the last year and a half, 2 years. So, okay, thank you. Anyone else? As Mr. Moulton said, the resolution awarding the bid for the 2021 Clark Street Utility and Surface Improvements Project appears on page 35 and 36. Is there a motion for approval?
Ed'll make a motion to approve.
Emily will second.
Ed 1, Emily 2. Any more questions or comments now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have a license to use city right-of-way from the Guentzel Holdings. Mr. Moulton.
Mayor Zeman and City Council, as you have seen, what we have done with a few businesses in St. Peter where parking is very tight, we have had a request from Guentzel Holdings to construct parking in the city right-of-way. We do use 3 criteria to evaluate the use of those right-of-ways, and not everyone is approved, but in certain cases like this here, where they have developed the lot entirely and do not have room to expand in their own lot, we have looked at parking in the right-of-way. Very similar to the one we recently approved with Scrovey Automotive. Usually they coincide with development of a new business or a new street in that area, which helps with the construction cost. The owner of the property would be responsible for the entire cost of the construction. And as you can tell from the agreement here, the city administrator has gone through this and verified that it is up to speed with where we need it to be. And we're recommending approval, which would allow the mayor and the city administrator to execute the agreement. That resolution is on page 42.
Okay. Questions? Pete, I have a question. To me, this differs a little bit from the Scrovey one because driving by this property, this is already done.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, what happens if we don't approve it?
I guess I'll be dealing with those guys tomorrow.
Okay. Another question I have, and I don't know if that's the standard, but I remember ones we had, done in the past. That's always at approval first and then do it. And I know they didn't do this when they did the parking lot because they just came back and did this not too long ago. Another question I have, and I know that we dealt with this at the Dunkin' Donut, I'm going to call it the Dunkin' Donut strip mall, where we require so much land to be pervious. And does that apply here also?
That applies in all properties that
Right.
you have. That's correct.
Do we, I mean, there's a lot of, that isn't, there's very, very little pervious material down there. I don't know, did we figure out a percentage?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep. And so they do additionally have a pond and they own some space.
Right.
I'm trying to think which direction it is. I believe north, Mr. Mayor.
okay.
Behind the building as well.
Behind the building is all asphalt though. I don't know how close, I don't know how close the line runs, but there's asphalt behind the building also.
Quite a bit of it is asphalt, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor. But one of the things that we did change during the course of this design work was to tip the parking so that the stormwater would be treated through their facility first. And they do have adequate space there to make that happen. Where we didn't have adequate treatment of stormwater is where we required the impervious surface to change.
Okay,
The pervious, so that some treatment could be accomplished.
right. I guess I just, down there we required them to put in pervious parking area.
Yep.
I guess what I'm getting at is now we've added, the right of way to it. All of a sudden we're covering up our property with asphalt also and more impervious material. And I'm just concerned that all these percentages that we use for our rules, that they're being followed. And if we did, that's great. But it just looks like an awful lot of hard surfaces.
Right. This property, if you take a look at the map on page number 41, there's very little city property used. As you guys know, when we plat out a street roadway, we usually try to get the street in the middle so that you have boulevard on both sides. This is one of those difficult properties where our road, it looks very straight, but it doesn't align with the property corners or the actual private property pin. There's only about a foot coming off the south side and about 8 inches that they would be crossing on city right-of-way to get to their own property.
Okay.
A majority of this parking is on Guentzel's property, but they do use a piece of the city right-of-way, and that's why we're here asking for permission for that.
Well, I just remember, like I say, I keep referring back to the Dunkin' Donut one where we made them they weren't real pleased with us. We made them jump through some hoops,
Sure,
and they
understand.
couldn't quite see it, and I looked down there and I kind of wondering why. But you explained it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Emily?
Mr. Mayor, in general, just to kind of respond to what you were saying, I've done a little bit of research because I want eventually someday to put a permeable driveway in rather than asphalt or concrete or whatever. Is that something that the city has ever considered for parking lots, for parking spaces?
Absolutely. This would be what I would call the minimum standard. If you want to go above and beyond, I think that's what the mayor is mentioning, Emily, is that if they want to put a different type of driveway in there, they certainly have those options. They just have to show us the treatment is accomplished.
Okay. Cool.
There are a few of them around town, but not many. Okay. Anyone else? The resolution authorizing execution of license to install vehicle parking in city right-of-way with the Guentzel Holdings appears on page 42. Is there a motion for approval?
Carrie Johnson will make a motion to approve.
Ed'll second.
Carry 1, Ed 2. Any questions or comments now? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Next up, we have a request for city assistance for the 4th of July. Todd?
Mayor, members, as you know, through the packet, the Chamber of Commerce is again sponsoring the old-fashioned 4th of July. The events will be very similar to what you saw in 2019. I could go through the entire list, but let me point out probably what I think are the 2 biggest changes from the 2019 4th of July event. So the first of which is the staging area for the parade itself. They're looking to modify that staging area and essentially use Washington Avenue north of Broadway, where before they used a few blocks of that and the side streets. This includes using Washington further, probably to the point of Traverse Road, so the vast majority of the parade will be staged on Washington rather than on the side streets. So I think this is an experimental year. They're looking to do this for a couple of different reasons. From my perspective, I think from Public Works perspective, this is not a significant concern, but we'll be watching to see how it works this year as compared to using all the side streets in that area. The second is that there is no fun run this year, and so no additional assistance is needed for the fun run. Other than that, again, Mayor and members, very similar to what you've seen in past years in the request from the Chamber of Commerce. The resolution is included on page 46 and 47 of your packet.
Okay. Questions? Brad?
One thing you did leave out in my conversations with Mr. Lee, huge disappointment, there will not be the hot dog eating contest this year. I was very disappointed because I will now have to allocate extra funds for my own lunch. But otherwise, I think everything else seems in line. So.
Generally, they don't need a permit from us for the hot dog eating contest, so it's usually not on the list. But it is certainly fun when they have it.
Okay. I finished second one year by a
Oh.
half a swallow. And I'm kind of glad I didn't win because those hot dogs kind of scare you a little bit. Any other questions or comments? Emily, sorry.
Sure. Just curious what they have, or if they'll have anything posted as far as COVID restrictions. I assume that since it's outdoor, it's pretty safe at this point, but what, if anything, has come up in conversation?
I have not had a significant discussion with Ed from the Chamber about that. You're right, Emily, all the events, at least that I'm aware of, are outdoor, so no masking is required. And so I don't know that they'll have anything outside of what we might consider the old normal from 2019.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? 4th of July? If not, the resolution authorizing city assistance for the 4th of July event appears on pages 46 and 47. Is there a motion for approval?
DeVos will move.
Emily will second.
Brad 1, Emily 2. Any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please, Barb.
Councilmember Ed Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Zeman.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Councilmember Bruflat,
Aye.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. Next up, we have a new business license application. And Todd, and I didn't catch your name before. Are you Mr. Simonet?
Nick, but that's...
Okay. So I don't know if we'll need you up here or not, but if you want to come up and if we have questions, until that point, I won't ask for your name and address. If we have any questions for you, I'll ask for your name and address.
All right.
But if we don't have any,
I
then,
know our address.
yeah. All right. Todd?
Mayor, members, you have included on page 48 a request for a tobacco business license. This is for Smolder Cigar Emporium LLC. Background investigation was done as per your policy and all of the business owners, and it has been completed. Nothing within that background check would prevent issuance of the license.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the resolution is included on page 49. Just as a point of clarification for folks that might be interested, renewal licenses come on your consent agenda and new licenses are separate agenda items. So that's why this one is called out separately.
All right. Questions for Todd? Or anyone, I guess? Brad?
So this is a personal issue for me. And I'm not going to be voting in favor of this resolution. Simply put, this comes from a history of growing up as a child of two smokers. First 19 years of my life until I went to college, I was sucking in secondhand smoke. It affected me and it wasn't until after I was away from home for several years that a lot of my respiratory issues started to go away. I think this just sends a bad signal. This is it's a 100% either tobacco and nicotine business. It's not like a convenience store or a bar where they sell other things as part of it. And I see this as sending the wrong signal. This is a community that we were in support of Tobacco 21. These are products that can't be used in a public building outside of a personal residence. And it's just, as I said, it's a personal issue. I've dealt with, my father, while it was a smoker for almost 30 years, it impacted his heart. He had heart issues. Eventually, when he passed away, one of the contributing factors was tobacco. I just think, personally, it sends a wrong signal that we would be endorsing a product that has an adverse effect on all of those surrounding the person using this. So that's just my opinion, is that we would be sending the wrong signal by advertising that this was acceptable. It's nothing personal as far as towards you or any of the other partners. That's just my own personal background on it. So
We all have our own personal feelings on all of this kind of stuff. You still have to abide by the Tobacco 21 rules.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
My question, I guess, to Brad or to anyone is, let's fight, I should be the one to talk. Let's fight obesity and let's shut down McDonald's. They serve anything healthy, they're trying, but they still serve a lot of crappy food that can have adverse health effects on people. So if we're going to become a nanny city or a nanny state, then let's do that. But that's not my idea of freedom to do whatever we want. Ed?
Where are you guys going to be located?
1, 2, 2,
Nassau.
Nassau.
West Nassau.
Yeah.
Okay.
Janelle's building. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So you're going to be doing hair?
Yeah. No hair.
No hair.
No. I don't know nothing about it. So.
All right. Brad?
Well, I anticipated that response from somebody here as far as either the fast food or the alcohol. The difference between either of those and tobacco smoking is the fact that it's not just the customer who is impacted by it. It's those that are around the customer. that are impacted by it. And so it goes beyond the personal choice of putting bad things into your body and
Right.
into affecting the environment around you. And that's why I say it's different from either of those things where it just impacts you. My mom, my dad, they'd have a beer. That beer didn't go into my lungs.
No,
So,
but people,
and so that's where I say,
Okay.
you may say it's a nanny state. Well, we're doing that with Tobacco 21. We were going to pass a mask ordinance last summer before the governor stepped in. So that's where I would argue that this is not just simply affecting the customer so much as affecting those around the person. who
okay, well then tell me, what about families of alcoholics?
Once again, that isn't going directly into the system of the child.
But it's going into people's
No matter
psychological, having lived with people with alcoholics.
everything that smokes goes into the people around them. Everything. While yes, there are alcoholics, everybody who drinks beer does not affect from a physical body, from a physical perspective, it does not impact the people around them. So that's where you come in with the difference from a health perspective.
Well-
Is alcoholism a problem? Sure, but the beer itself does not go into the body of the kid next to
Yeah,
you.
and the psychological effects from families with alcoholics in them is, to me, probably worse than things that go into their bodies. Carrie?
Is it appropriate to ask what products they'll be selling?
Sure.
Cigars.
Oh, here we go. Before you, as long as you're speaking, I need
Yep.
your name and your home address, please.
I'm Nick Winings, 604 Tranquility Trail, Mankato.
Okay, thank you. Now you can answer the
Yes,
question.
I'm curious about what products you're selling and what the business will look like.
Cigars. So it is a cigar lounge. Our state allows us to have a sampling process. So for example, me being a customer, I walk into the cigar lounge, I see a box, it looks good, it smells good. I'm not quite sure if I want to buy the whole box. So because of our state rule, I can taste it there. If I like how the cigar tastes, I can make the decision to either buy 5 more, 10 more, or that whole box.
Okay,
Yep,
so there's a lounge and then.
Yep, chairs,
Okay.
TVs, kind of just a place to hang out and relax.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Ed?
I give you guys credit. I didn't know there was such a rule that you could have a lounge like that. I never heard of that before,
yeah.
and more power to you for starting your own business as long as you follow all the rules and regulations. I wish you luck.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually have a comment to Councilman
DeVos.
Yes. Can I say it?
Yeah, you have the floor. Yep.
So every customer who comes into our lounge is pretty much expecting cigar smoke, right? They're coming in there to purchase. They're coming in there for that atmosphere. Hardly ever. I know my fiance has gone to a cigar shop for me for a Christmas present and that type of stuff, but she's going in there knowing what's in there. So it's not a surprise, and if people don't want to be around that smoke, they won't come in there.
Yeah,
So.
and I will say, it's not actually what's going on in the lounge itself.
Sure.
It's what's taken out, and it's the fact that the entire business is dedicated to a tobacco product.
Sure.
That's why. So I understand what's going on, and that's absolutely right. Everybody who's going in there, and that is, they're making a personal choice. It's the fact that it's the fact of the product that's going out, and it's just and the fact that this essentially the business is basically just a large advertisement that smoking is okay. And with all of the adverse health effects of it, I've just dealt with it, and I can't bring myself to support it. But yeah, as far as I understand, everybody who's going in there
Right.
understands totally what they're getting into.
Right.
So that's all. So yeah.
All right. Anyone else? Shannon?
I just have a question related to Minnesota law, if Nick knows the answer. If there's smoking allowed in the building, are individuals under 21 able to come in and hang out in the lounge area if they're not making purchases?
No. You need to be like 21 or older, and then also you can only smoke the cigars purchased there. So no cigarette smoking, no vaping, hookah, like that type of stuff. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you know any Cubans?
The people or the cigars? 'Cause I feel like I can't even answer that question.
Yeah, no, don't answer it.
Okay.
Don't answer it.
Okay.
Anyone else? Questions? Dot, the resolution approving the new business license for the tobacco for the Cigar Emporium appears on page 49. Is there a motion for approval?
Ed will make a motion to approve.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Ed 1, Carrie 2. Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Yeah,
please.
Emily, go ahead.
I'm feeling conflicted about this because when I read this resolution or this memo, I had a similar feeling to Brad, but I don't have the personal experience that Brad has. And I also, in general, support businesses. But then, Mr. Mayor, when you made the comment about McDonald's, I personally don't support McDonald's. I don't,
Yep.
I won't, because of their business model, I don't give them my money.
Right.
That kind of thing. So I don't think I'm going to be voting in favor of this, but it's not against you personally. It's just my own personal feeling. I just don't think I can personally support this kind of business.
Right.
Carrie?
Have you done a market study? Do you find that you'll have quite a few customers in this area? You must have kind of felt the vibe in St. Peter.
So like, can I like just give you
You
kinda
can-
like
yep,
a small
you got the floor.
backstory on why? So my associates, like the guy on my right there, he, me, him, and another guy, we own a couple like small businesses, and I know like so I stutter. Right?
You're okay.
I get super
You're okay.
nervous, but yeah. So we've been having we've been seeing that a lot of people that we know just all at once in the last like 4 years started to smoke cigars. And I'm a recovering addict, right? So like we went to all of these campouts and all that, and everybody was smoking a cigar, and we started to find that bond between us. Right, and we started all like taking like road trips to different cigar lounges in our state, and we decided to start one because we kind of need that. Like we work hard, right? And during active addiction, like we would go home and have that beer. Well, since I no longer do that, that's kind of my escape, right? And we're bringing that escape to so many other people. Like I know like tobacco, right? It's super dangerous. But like our mayor said, I mean, that's no different than alcohol. Alcohol destroyed my family. You can say that I didn't take the drink, but I suffered every consequence that came with it, physically and mentally, right? This cigar lounge, my son doesn't suffer, right? Like I don't bring my son into this cigar lounge. It's a way that I can escape safely, right? Where I'm not breaking the law because of it. Not saying anything is wrong, like with alcohol. Those who can do it, right? I just can't. So this opportunity that we're like presenting to our people, like the recovering addicts who just want that safe place to go, and then we start to have a bond. Like I went to this cigar shop in Bern, and I got to like hang out with all like different types of people who were law enforcement and like all that, and it's just a great experience. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No,
like
you're
once
fine.
again, but yeah. So
Yeah.
No, I appreciate your comment. Sorry, Carrie, I know you
Oh,
asked the question.
I was just gonna, to my point about if there being a market for it in this area, and you made a case for, the social aspects of it.
Yeah.
I think people can vote with their dollar if they want to choose to participate or not. I really would not want to see the council hinder you from being able to do this. I think you're all responsible and you went through the process and you'll follow the rules. And like Ed said, that's what we should care about on the council. I don't think it sends a message to the community. So I still continue to support this resolution.
Yeah. Well, and good point, Carrie. I guess that's the thing. Which ones that we deem, or some people deem, are not healthy for the community, which ones we support and which ones don't we? So, you're following all the rules. That's what I come down to with all of these big people have a choice. You're following the rules. So if that's the case, I support you too 100%.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Brett?
I'd just like to say, for someone who has a stuttering problem too, who gets stumbled over,
My brother.
you did an excellent job speaking.
Thank you, sir.
Didn't change my mind, but I will.
I'll stutter more.
But I will commend you. You have done an excellent presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? If not, call the roll, please, Barb.
Gary Seaman.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Nay.
Councilmember Bruflat.
Nay.
Councilmember Carrie Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Ed Johnson.
Aye.
Resolution is approved by a vote of 4-2. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate it, and good luck in your business.
Thank you.
That concludes our new business. Next up, we have reports. Really don't have anything to add. Todd?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything to add, but would stand for any questions from the council.
Very good. Questions or comments from the council? Brett?
I'd like to make a note about Steve Grams, and I'm sure he's going to be watching this. He is recovering. He is home. Steve, when you do watch this, my self-esteem is getting higher since you haven't been around. I'm almost to normal self-esteem levels. And I do have questions. I'm reading your Caring Bridge site about burnt English muffins with peanut butter. Why burnt? I mean, I'm a big English muffin with peanut butter, but why burnt? So you've got some explaining to do, but if you come back you better come back soon, because otherwise my head might get too big. So.
Anyone else? Ed?
I don't know how many everybody else went to the Blues Fest last weekend, but they had an excellent turnout at the park. It was beautiful weather, and the ambassadors, for a short notice thing, they did a pretty good job on getting some music there and lining some stuff up. So I'd like to congratulate the ambassadors.
Yep. Ditto on that one. Seemed like everything was going well. Anyone else have anything to add? Share? Questions? All right. If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Ed'll make a motion to adjourn.
Carrie Johnson will second.
Ed 1, Carrie 2. All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Good night.
God, Ed, I couldn't do it in 40 minutes.
I had to make a comment about Steve so that he could.
You tipped us over.